Welcome back to the Evolution of Mom. I am so excited to introduce my special guest today, Vanessa Nixon. I am so glad you are here with us. This podcast has been such a beautiful space for me to share about women's health. My umbrella is health, happiness, and hormones for women, and we get a lot of mindset in here for women, but I'm so excited to talk women's health with you today, especially that perimenopause, menopause, and what happens afterwards. I don't think that gets talked about enough, actually. So I am so excited to have you here to talk to us about that and to shed some light on that and to share with us what it is that you do. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here chatting with you today.
Awesome. Well, I would love to just start with what your story is. How did you get into natural medicine? Vanessa is a naturopathic doctor. How did you get into natural medicine and what got you into the realm of focusing on women's health?
Oh, those are great questions. Thank you. So my journey through natural health began about 30 years ago. I, as a teenager, started becoming ill quite frequently. I had grown up eating basically what I consider a diet of junk food. And so by the time I was about 14, I was catching every cold, every virus that came along. And then it started turning into bronchitis. Every time I got sick, I'd get a cold, it would go down in my chest, it would turn into bronchitis, and I would be sick for about 2 months each time. And this would happen 4 to 6 times a year. So basically, I was sick all the time. And it was just progressively getting worse and worse and worse. And so I was chronically ill for about 6 years. My mother was a nurse, and so I was prescribed antibiotics every time I was sick. And so for the last few years of that period, I was taking antibiotics every single day of my life. And of course, now I know that really was decimating my gut flora and was just contributing to this downward spiral where I just had no immunity. But in my early 20s, a friend noticed that I was taking so many antibiotics and asked me why. And so I told him the story. And he stopped and he said, "Well, is it working?" Nobody had ever asked me that before. I had never asked myself that question. And just that question kind of sparked something in my mind. It kind of allowed my mind to expand and think, well, okay, no, this obviously is not working. So does that mean that there's another option? I had never before known that there were any other options. Nobody had ever given me any other options. And so, I started wondering, is there something else that I could do? And my friend said, well, I see an herbalist when I get sick, and I could introduce you if you'd like. And so sure enough, 2 weeks later, I got sick again. And I went to see this herbalist who gave me a respiratory formula. And what had previously taken me 8 weeks to recover from, I was well in 2 weeks taking this herbal formula. And I was hooked. That did it for me. I wanted to know everything I could possibly learn about herbal medicine, which then prompted me to learn about other natural modalities, especially nutrition and homeopathy and flower essences. And so that just really sparked this journey that I've been on for several decades now of not only learning, but implementing and putting into practice all of the things that nature provides for us to be able to keep ourselves healthy and happy and take ownership of our own health naturally.
Yeah, wow, that's so beautiful. And you do a lot of herbalist practices yourself in what you do, which I think is really beautiful. And I think you said it best, is that the earth does provide so many beautiful remedies that are so aligned with our bodies. Like you said, it took you only 2 weeks as opposed to the 8 that it used to, because our bodies love nature. We're nature. We're in that symbiotic relationship with nature. And so it's only natural that those things work so well for us. Your story is actually very similar to mine. I was very chronically ill. And then in my 20s had this shift of, you know what, this isn't working. this space isn't working for me. I'm on all of these things. My symptoms are still the same. And now I have all of these side effects as well. So there was just this moment of clarity where I went off of everything, started from scratch, started seeing a naturopath, and it just has stemmed into this beautiful journey since, actually. So I'm so glad that you
Beautiful.
found that.
Yeah, it is. It's something that I hear often, especially with from other healers and other people who are living a more natural lifestyle, is that they have that same story arc. They have that same or similar journey of living with chronic illness or having gone through a very severe health crisis and having to find their own way out of that. And I love what you said about the fact that we are part of nature, because I think that's part of the issue with our society, is that we're conditioned to think that we're separate from nature, that nature is this over here, and then human beings are here on the other side. And sometimes I think we're even conditioned to think that we're fighting with nature, you know, or that we have to come up with something that's better than nature. We have to improve upon nature. And the truth is that we are nature. We are part of nature. As human beings, we are just, you know, another animal that is part of the earth, part of nature, and our bodies, especially as women, move through cycles just as that nature moves through cycles. And when we attune to those cycles, then we really get in tune with our own intuition. When we can tap into the cycles of nature, we tap into our own cyclical nature and into our intuition. And that opens up just a whole other realm of possibilities for our health and how we express ourselves in our lifetimes.
Yeah, I think it's actually some of the most valuable work I've ever done for my own health, and helping women do the same is getting them into what those cycles look like and how we can work with them instead of against them, especially when it comes to our environment and our internal environment in our bodies. So I think that's really powerful when we discover that it brings us a sense of control, of self-advocacy. And that's another thing. I think we're taught that our bodies aren't able to do a lot on its own. We have to add all of these outside, maybe unnatural things to get it to be fixed. But in reality, I deeply believe that our body constantly is ebbing and flowing in and out of homeostasis, that sense of balance. And our bodies really can heal when they're given the right environment and tools to do so. And I know that that's a deep belief in your type of practice. So I would really love to hear what got you to narrow in your focus into menopause, into helping that women in that beautiful time of their life.
Yeah, that's another really great question. And I think that the answer is similar in that I just recently went through menopause. And I just want to clarify, because a lot of times in our culture, people think of menopause as being either you're before menopause or you're in menopause for the rest of your life. And so menopause is the 1 year period of time once you have not been menstruating for 12 consecutive months. When your period is stopped for a year, that year was menopause. You were in menopause. So you don't really know that you're in menopause until afterwards. And then from that point on, you're postmenopausal. And before that period, it can be up to 10 years of hormones fluctuating and maybe sometimes missing a period here or there or having other symptoms. And that's perimenopause. So there's 3 stages of the menopausal phase of life. And I am now postmenopause. And so a few years ago, I went through a fairly short period of perimenopause. Like I said, sometimes it can last up to 10 years for some women. Mine was just about 18 months or so. Having come into this period of my life with several decades worth of working on my health, and really being able to refine my diet to suit my particular constitution and my body and my environment. And being able to address anything that was going on with my health with herbal medicine and homeopathy and all of the other modalities that I've learned along the way. I came into this period of my life pretty healthy, feeling really healthy, really strong, like I had a great foundation. And it was still a wake-up call for me. It was still challenging in many different ways, especially because menopause seems to be a time for all of us women where things are just shaken up. And we may be experiencing changes in our relationships. We may be experiencing relationships with our family dynamics. Our children may be moving out. We may be empty nesters. Our careers often change at this time. Either we're retiring or we're starting a new career. And this all seems to happen for women around this time of menopause. And I like to reassure women, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. There's a reason that all of these changes are occurring, because menopause is such a powerful time of transition. But as I was saying, I came into this feeling very healthy, and I still had a lot of challenges. And when I looked out into my community and my clients and students, I realized that many, if not most of them, were coming into this with a feeling much less healthy to begin with, already having health issues that they hadn't been able to address. And so when they hit this period of their lives, they were really suffering. And I wanted to be able to provide to them not only other resources and natural resources that I knew from experience, not only from my personal experience, but experience in my career with clients and students that really work very effectively. But I also wanted to provide a sense of community, a sense of support, because when I look back through all of the things that I went through and the transitions that were very challenging for me, it was the support network that I had built up around me of women primarily, who many of them had not gone through menopause yet, but they were just there. They were there to hold my hand. They were there to listen to me and just to support me and just to love me. And I think that that is something that our society does not have built in like it used to in past generations. And we are really missing that. And I think that's one of the reasons that menopause is so difficult for us, is we don't have that built-in support. And that's what I really want to offer to women, is to know that they can have that support, and they can also learn strategies that can help them to feel confident in taking ownership of their health and not having to depend on somebody else who may not have the answers that are best for them.
Wow. So everything you said, I love. You and I are very aligned in all the things that you just said. I think community is one of the most important things. I actually believe it's a pillar of our health, our community, and who we're taking influence from, who we're able to let go of, who we have surrounding us in important times of need. And women thrive in a like-minded, supportive community. And we have lost that. We have lost that, definitely. And what a strange thing that women who go through hormonal struggles, period struggles, menopause struggles, go through it alone. We go through it alone. We feel like it's this time of loneliness that no one understands, when in reality, all women go through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How many times have you spoken this way to a woman and she's be like, yes, yes, oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly what's going on with me.
Right.
We all go through it, but yet we feel like we have to suffer in silence, or at least in this on this mountain alone of these.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
oh my
And
goodness.
isn't it so strange? That's the perfect word. It's so strange that particularly menopause has been a taboo subject up until
Yes.
the last 10 or 15 years. Nobody wanted to talk about it. We were embarrassed about it. And we kind of felt like our lives are over.
Yes.
After menopause, it's never going to be the same.
Mhm.
Our bodies are going to just decline continuously after that.
Yes.
And we didn't have anybody there to talk to and say, no, that's not true. That's not what happens.
Right. It's
Um,
just this another time of transition in a woman's life. And I think that's it. When it was talked about or is talked about, it's talked about as the end. Your life as a woman is over. And it's this horrid, horrid time. And I mean, I get it. Women who suffer with period problems and menstruation issues and things all their life leading up to that, of course it's not something they're looking forward to, because odds are if they haven't been able to get a handle on their hormones up to that time, there is going to be more of a struggle there. But I think what's important for women to know is you can be preemptive here, and you absolutely can have control over that time of your life, especially with the support of people like yourself.
yeah. And I think that I would like to um, I'd like to say that I like to reframe this time for women. I like to be able to reframe it as a time of being able to surrender to the natural process that's happening to you, and be able to really feel that it's happening for you because there's something better on the other side of this transition. And you and I were talking earlier about how sometimes nature makes us a little bit uncomfortable so that we are really ready to move beyond it into the next stage. Because when we feel really comfortable and things are great, why would we want to change? Like, why would we want things to change if it's perfect the way it is, or if it's even tolerable the way it is? We sometimes don't want to put in the effort to change. But when there's something on the other side that's just waiting for us, that the universe, nature, whatever word you want to refer to, knows that you have an opportunity to be able to use your gifts and talents in the world in a really impactful, powerful way. But you're not going to get there if you just stay where you are. And so for me, menopause is this initiation. It's truly a spiritual initiation that's happening for you. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, and sometimes you have to go really, really deep, and it feels very intense. But on the other side of it, it's beautiful. It's magnificent.
I love that. I love that you're bringing emotional support and awareness to this as well. It's so much more than just a physical change. It can be a whole emotional transformation. And we were talking earlier, you say you have kind of 3 branches that you use to support women through this. I would love to hear about them.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So the main branch of my business is as a traditional naturopath. I use nutrition and herbal medicine, and then some more energetic modalities like homeopathy and flower essences and energy exercises. And that's the main branch. But I also have these other 2 branches of my work. And the second one is that I am a professional belly dance instructor. And so I love to bring natural movement into my work. And I love belly dance in particular. I've been dancing all my life, and I've done various forms of dance, but I really focused on belly dance because belly dance is a cultural, traditional dance that was originally performed by women, only for women. And the dance tells the story of womanhood. So it's a dance form that's all about women's empowerment and getting in touch with your body. And the actual moves that make up this form of dance were created to help a woman's body go through the various transitions that she has to go through, from first menstruation through pregnancy through menopause. And it actually utilizes the muscles of the body and strengthens, especially the pelvic muscles, to support the changes that a woman's body goes through.
That is incredible. That is so exciting. And I totally just learned something new. I love this. I love this so much. I love that there's a component that helps women get in touch with their bodies, because that's what I noticed the most, not only in this stage of my healing journey that I'm in, I'm pain-free, I'm, doing well, but I've now come to address and notice that I have such a disassociation from my body because it put me through much. I was through so much. I was in so much pain. And like you said, women just love to be able to tolerate what's going on. We love to stay in a space of, oh, I'm fine, it's okay. We don't like to thrive if we can. We need to get uncomfortable a little bit. I like that you said that. And now that I am feeling good, I noticed what a disconnect I have to my body, to even that whole area. And so I think that's really beautiful that you're bringing in a connection to the physical space as well.
Yeah, it's a wonderful form of embodiment.
Mm.
And I know that's a hot term right now, embodiment. And I think it's a wonderful term because we really do, in order to experience true healing, I think we need to take that extra step of embodying it, of bringing in that connection to our bodies. And I love with belly dance, not only do you have that, and not only is it just a wonderful form of physical exercise, but it's really about community. It's about women being in community, and it's all about body positivity. Women in other forms of dance sometimes don't feel accepted if they have a body type that is not the same as, everybody else that they're seeing. But with belly dance, all sizes, all shapes, all forms are always welcomed. And culturally, women who are a little bit more robust are considered to be healthier and to be sexier. And, so I love the body positivity. I love the embodiment. I love the connection with women's empowerment. And then the third branch of my business is natural beauty. I actually started off when I first started studying herbalism. I created a business creating all natural herbal handcrafted soaps. And I sold them at the local farmers market. And then I went into body care products and skincare products. And I sold at the farmers market for about 9 years. And throughout the last few years, I realized that I was getting the same question from my clientele. And that was, you have all these wonderful products. You have the soap, the body care, the skincare, but we're looking for natural makeup and we can't find any that is really, truly natural. And so I finally took a year to just focus on research and development and came up with an all natural mineral makeup line.
Wow.
So that people could feel really good about focusing on their beauty, bringing out their natural beauty in a healthy way. And I think that's another piece that sometimes gets overlooked in the natural health field, is that as women, we want to feel beautiful. We are beautiful as women, and we all have a natural beauty inside. And sometimes in our culture, we feel like we need to hide that. Mm-hmm. And especially in the natural world, we feel like, oh, if we're putting makeup on and wearing lots of jewelry and doing our hair or whatever, that's somehow eschewed, that's not natural. But I wanted women to feel like they could really adorn themselves with healthy products and have the confidence that it was healthy for them.
Okay, this might be my favorite thing. Women should never have to trade their health for beauty. And a lot of us do, because we do not understand how deeply especially when we're, let's say, focused on hormone health, how deeply our beauty routines affect our hormone health.
Absolutely.
Endocrine disruptors are one of the biggest epidemics I have ever seen. It is so sad. It is so scary. And I think it's becoming more of an awareness now, but it's not something like, say, when I was growing up, no one ever brought that to my attention. Hey, Amy, you have a hormonal imbalance condition. Have you ever thought about taking endocrine disruptors out of your routine? The average woman puts on 300 to 500 in her morning routine, and it builds up to an average of 5 pounds a year in women's bodies.
That's
And
incredible.
isn't that just terrible? And when I was saying earlier how our bodies can thrive if our external environment and our internal environment are working together as a community, but sometimes we're so focused on the internal environment, and we can get some gains there. We absolutely can. We can make some shifts, but if we're not addressing our external environment, like our beauty routines, like the products within our home, it can have a huge hit on our hormone health, and it can affect our menstruation. It can affect how hard menopause hits us. So you have a very well-rounded situation going on over there. I love it.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like when you weave all three of these things together, then you've got yourself covered.
Yes.
You've got a really great foundation for health, not only internally, not only physically, but also emotionally and mentally and spiritually as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I really think you do. You've got that physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Absolutely. And I mean, even with the belly dancing, you're bringing in that physical, but what a spiritual and like you said, that embodiment connection as well.
Mhm.
So they all vibe together so beautifully. Wow. Congratulations on all of that.
Oh,
By the
thank
way,
you.
like, oh my gosh, like this is something that is so close to my heart, because this is the journey that I have taken to become healthy, is addressing all of those different areas. Because when you start on a health journey, when you, let's say, even go to your healthcare provider for menopause, all they want to talk to you about is your uterus. They
Mhm.
want to focus on your bits, and that's it. They want to put you on a synthetic, and here, let's see what happens. But there's no holistic address. There's no, okay, let's talk about even foods that can support you. Let's not stress you out by taking stuff away right now. Let's just talk about some foods we can bring in that are going to support this time of the hormone fluctuations that you need. Let's talk about your lifestyle. Let's talk about stress. Stress
Yeah.
and women's hormones is like, whew,
Oh,
hand
yeah.
in hand.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm always surprised at how when I speak with women about stress, they kind of think about it like, okay, well, I know that I've got some stress, but that's just, a factor. That's just a small factor. And yeah, there's not anything I can do about it. This is the way my life is, and there's nothing I can do about it. And when I tell them that, like cortisol is master hormone, you can't just try to shift your estrogen and your progesterone and expect that, that's all you have to do. Once you address cortisol, which is a stress hormone, as once you address that, then everything else, it kind of has a trickle effect.
Absolutely.
And so that's where you start. That's it.
Yes, I deeply believe that as well. Let's tackle some stress so that your sleep can be better. Let's tackle some stress so that your gut health can literally be better, which is going to help your hormones with sleep, gut. Oh my gosh, yes, it's a catalyst for just about everything. Your stress, and women have this sense of, we have to have this certain amount of stress. This is just our life. This is just our normal amount of stress. That is part of my life. It is, there's nothing I can do about it. And oh my gosh, when you start helping women identify what they have control over and how they can make shifts there versus what they don't have control over, so let's just let that shit go, right? It's a very, very powerful thing, and it starts the ball rolling, I believe, for women feeling empowered that they have control over more areas of their life, their health, than I think they realize.
Absolutely. And I love that word empowerment, because I think it is, um, especially for the menopausal phase, that's what it's all about, is looking at those places in your life where you haven't felt empowered, where you haven't felt like you have ownership over what's going on in your own body or in your own environment. And I do think that there is a certain level of stress that is always going to be there, because even, happy things cause stress in our bodies and in our emotions. But it's how we respond to it. And most of us were never taught really healthy and empowering ways of responding to the things that happen to us in life. And so when women are provided with tools and strategies to be able to respond to health, to stress in a healthy way, then suddenly we don't have that cascade of cortisol, running through your body and affecting all of the other hormones and causing all of these symptoms. We can see that, oh yeah, I'm moving and there's a certain amount of stress that's involved because there's a lot of stuff to do, right? You know this. And, but I've got all these strategies. So I know that as I'm in this process of moving, I can be implementing all of these strategies through nutrition, through meditation, through movement, through beauty practices, through herbs, and, all of these, there's just a wealth of strategies and modalities that we can have at our fingertips and just use as normal things throughout our daily lives. When we can, one more thing I want to bring in here is when we can use these strategies and ritualize them. Some people talk about building habits, and I love the idea of making healthy choices into habits. But one thing that I have found that makes these healthy habits stick even better is by turning these habits, these strategies, these coping mechanisms into rituals that we can enjoy every day. We can look forward to our rituals that are bringing our health, that are elevating our health to a higher level. And they just become parts of our day that we've ritualized, that we look forward to, that we enjoy. And we're actually treating our symptoms that way. We're actually addressing our health just by adding healthy rituals.
Yes, that's so beautiful. Like you said, there is stress. There's always going to be stress. But what's beautiful is there's so many ways that we can address it, that we can find that are individualistic to us, that align with us, that align with our day and how we're going to make it work. And yes, ritualizing them so that it is something that is a positive, not like a setback of, I have to do this, or I'm going to be stressed. Like, no, let's lean into it in a space of joy. For me, it's a hot cup of tea, and it is a whole ritual for me. I go and I look at all my mugs and I'm picking, which mug am I feeling right now? Which one's going to bring me the most joy in this moment? And then I make my tea. I pick which tea I need in the moment. And then I sit down. And now everyone in my house knows when I sit down with my hot cup of tea, I'm drinking it when it's hot. I will not be reheating it 6 times. This is my moment. Figure it out for the next 5 to 10 minutes. And that's just, it can be as simple as that. There are things that you can do that are small, that you can build on, that can be done consistently to help you with moments of stress so that you're ebbing in and out of it, instead of having a moment of stress, staying heightened, staying in that fight or flight, and then building on it for the rest of the day, and then for the rest of the week and the rest of the month. And I think that's, like you said, there's healthy tools we can do to ebb and flow out of that, sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, and then ebb back into rest and digest, that parasympathetic. Let's go, right? That's the skill there, because there is stress, but it is how we deal with it. That's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I love how you talk about ebbing and flowing, because I think a lot of women who are struggling and they feel like they're on this roller coaster, they are really striving for this.
Yes.
And they think that that's what health is. Just when I'm in balance and centered all
balance.
the time. Yeah.
If I could just get everything balanced, my life would be better. Like, honey, there is no balance. Let's talk harmony. right? You're
Yes,
never going to
yes.
achieve this state of balance, but let's talk harmony and how you can flow in and out of these and create harmony between all the hats that you wear and all the things that you do. Stop chasing balance. It's not a thing.
Right, exactly. And, what I like to tell women is, okay, you're on this roller coaster right now. We're not looking for this. Nobody likes that anyway. If they had it, it would be like flat, dull, emotionless,
You would literally
but
create scenarios to go back to this. You would
right,
genuinely, you would create it. Yeah.
right. But what we want is just more flow,
Yes.
and maybe not quite as extreme of high and low. Let's just smooth that out a little bit, so we still are ebbing and flowing. And it's the nature of feminine energy to flow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we want. We don't want to just stand still here. We want to be able to flow through all of the things that happen in our lives, but we want to be able to do it feeling confident that we have the tools to do that in a really healthy way.
Yeah, absolutely. Women like to get into all or nothing thinking, and we like to get into very extremes. We almost, when we're in that fight or flight, we almost crave the highs and the lows but yes, let's like narrow the scope a little bit.
Right.
And just a
Exactly.
nice little harmonized flow instead of that extreme that we do get. And I mean, all women get that. They understand, even if they're dealing with like PMS problems or things, it's this extreme. They're really this and then they're really low. And oh my goodness, the things we go through as women. But
Right.
what's my favorite thing is that these things have become so common that they've become normalized. And my biggest thing to help women with when I deal with more menstruation and periods and that aspect of women's times, and it's, just because it's common doesn't make it normal or okay. And we've normalized all of these things. And I know you must get that in the menopause realm as well. We've normalized the extremes that come along with menopause, the negatives, the negative emotions, the shift in life that is the end. Like that's the norm. Do you find that there's a lot of normal but not common, common but not normal?
I do. And I think that part of that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with menopause being a taboo subject,
Mm-hmm.
and that we haven't spoken about menopause.
Yeah.
Just the idea of speaking about menopause isn't normal in our society. I would actually like to normalize the conversation about menopause. And so since we haven't normalized that conversation, we hear the extremes.
Yes.
And our society and the medical establishment have really encouraged us to believe in these extremes. And I find that there's common myths that women especially, believe about menopause. And the number one myth that I find that is kind of hiding behind, kind of lurking in the depths, is that menopause equals death.
Yeah.
And that sounds really extreme, but in past generations, when women didn't live as long, it actually was true that a lot of women didn't live past menopause. Some women didn't live until menopause. And I think we have that ancestral memory, within us. But I'd like to reframe that as, we're living in a different time now. And the average lifespan of a woman is in their early 80s, whereas a century ago it was the early 50s, just 100 years ago. And so a lot of women now are living more years after they've gone through menopause than before. So it's just the halfway mark. It's not death. You're only halfway through your life. And another reason I think, though, that women feel that menopause equals death is that it is the death of your reproductive years. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to acknowledge that that is a part of your life that is no longer. However, I also like to reframe that as we still have that womb space, whether we have an actual uterus anymore or not. We have a womb space as women where all of that creativity, that creative energy lives. And before menopause, that creative energy was focused on the possibility or the potential of bringing new life into the world through a child, if that's what you've chosen. But after menopause, we still have all that creative energy. And now it's there, and we can direct that toward what we want to bring into the world at this time of our lives, whether it's a new project, whether it's a new business, whether it's a new relationship, you know, whether it's a new way to bring our gifts out into the world. We get to birth all kinds of wonderful things into the world now that the reproductive phase of life is over. It opens so many new doors for us. And so I really love to reframe that myth. The other myth that I hear so often is that menopause is a disease. It's a deficiency of hormones. And our medical establishment has supported that. They actually have listed menopause as an illness of a deficiency. And, you know, yes, our hormones shift, but we still have estrogen, we still have progesterone, we still have all the hormones that we used to. There is a shift in them, and that's because we don't need them anymore, because those levels of hormones supported our bodies to create a new human being. We don't need to do that anymore, so we don't need those levels of hormones anymore. And sometimes that shift can be a little rocky, and that's what I love to help women with, so that we can smooth those bumps out. But it's not a deficiency. It's what we are supposed to be doing. It's what our bodies are supposed to be doing. It's natural and it's healthy to have lower levels of some of those hormones. And again, we want to smooth that out, and we want to find that harmony between these shifts of our hormones. And then the third myth that I hear so often from women is that life is never going to be the same. Like, it's all downhill from here. My body is deteriorating, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's just going to keep happening. And, you know, our society kind of supports that with saying, oh, we're over the hill and it's all downhill from here. And what I want to say to that is that it is true that life will never be the same, but it can be better. It doesn't mean it's going downhill. It can go uphill from here. Mm-hmm. And we get to have control of that. We get to help direct that, and we get to create what we want to create at this time of our lives. And in the previous phases of our lives, for many of us, our lives have been about other people, our children, our families, our careers. And at this phase of life, it's an opportunity for our lives to be about what we can bring back to the world. We've accumulated so much wisdom, so many experiences over our lifetime. And now we get to share that. We get to share our wisdom and share our talents with the world in a way that we create. And I think it's beautiful. And I think that's something that we can only do at this phase of our lives with the wisdom that we've accumulated.
Yeah. Wow. What a beautiful shift of perspective that women can start embodying now. Like, if you're listening to this now, and maybe you're not even close to this part of your life yet, take it on with this perspective. Know that it is a beautiful time of change. Yes, there are emotions of an end of this part of your life, and those emotions are valid, and you can be supported through that. But yes, the perspective of growth and change and shift, and a positive perspective on the future that, yes, is your time now. Absolutely. Actually, you know what? I think this is the perfect spot to end this with that perspective of menopause. I think that is just one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. We need to normalize these transitions in women's lives because they are normal. They are a part of our healthy cycle, as are periods, as are all the other things. And the more women can have conversations like this, but also the support of an ear and an expert like this is just so, so valuable. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. I deeply believe that time is our only limited commodity. So I do appreciate you spending that time with us. I would love for you to share anything you have going on and how people can find you. And I will absolutely make sure that those details are in the show notes for everybody as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm so honored to be here speaking with you. And I do have a website, herbsofgracehealingarts.com, and that's a great way to connect with me. I'm also on social media. I have a Facebook page, Herbs of Grace Healing Arts. I also have a Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group that's a place of support and community for women in midlife. It's called You Can Feel Marvelous in Midlife Naturally. And that's a great place to connect with me. I'm also on Instagram at Herbs of Grace. So those are all really wonderful ways to connect with me. And I also have a free event coming up on Thursday, March 10th. And so I'll make sure to get that link to you. It is an herbal workshop where we will be creating our own medicinal fire cider to help boost our immune systems. So it's going to be a really fun, hands-on, experiential event where you can create a remedy right there with me virtually and help build up your own natural medicine chest.
Oh my goodness, I love this so much. Ladies, remember, when you are going through these times in life, you are not alone. There are always people and practices to support you. So I hope people do seek you out. I know I'm going to be checking out some of these things for sure. And yes, thank you so much for being here. And as always, thank you for listening and watching. Till next time. Bye.